Fibonacci of pizza, now in Technicolor. In 1175 AD, Fibonacci was born in the same place as the tower. In the 1200s, there was an economic commerce. Boom. Examples of what happened during this time were that ropes. Look at that. It's a beautiful rope. Clocks. Look at that clock. Wait for it. Wait for it. Squiggly line. And eyeglasses. Look at those. Those are pretty good sunglasses. And then buttons were being sewn onto clothing for the first time in history, signaling high fashion in many ways. In the Middle Ages, or the early Renaissance, Fibonacci was the head of his class, and if there was a competition for being the best mathematician, he would be the champ, undisputed, mostly because people couldn't count. This potato on the piece of paper is called Africa. He was not in Africa, but he was taught, as he grew up, in the Hindu-Arabic arithmetic system by North Africans, so North African education. Fibonacci also was facilitated by these people called Moors, which helped him learn the Hindu-Arabic system. As we all know, less is less than more, so LOL. And Moors are basically just Muslim inhabitants that came up and were trading and stuff, and they taught him these things. Because nobody else could, because they were all in the Dark Ages and whatever. As my arrow clearly illustrates. Sadly, though, Fibonacci's run couldn't last that long. He's no longer with us. He died at some point. He had a good run. Done a lot of math stuff. Died in the 1200s. His cause of death, though, was probably the plague. That thing's nasty. It's kind of bad for you. He didn't have the strongest immune system. All that math, weakened him over time. But we don't really know what he died from, but we're assuming it was the plague just because it killed a lot of people. Coming up, we will see examples of how this actually works and what the practicality of it is, but that's not really my job to say. I'm just going to go a little in-depth here. Super deep math. Oh, fun fact, before we switch to the cool stuff, he also helped invent the fraction bar instead of using quotations, which was, before him, was cool. So it's true that swag is education. So I'm going to have to pass it on here because I am no authority in math. So now I would say it's time for, wait for it, Calculus Science segment!
We're done with that boring history stuff. We get math. Here you have a couple equations for the Fibonacci sequence. You have x to the n equals x to the n minus 1 plus x to the n minus 2. Or x to the n equals c to the n minus the quantity of 1 minus 2 to the n all over the square root of 5. Now it's a little bit different when you get to below 0, because then you have to have x to the negative n equals negative 1 to the n plus 1 times x to the n. All of this basically means 1 plus 1 equals 2, 2 plus 1 equals 3, and 3 plus 2 equals 5. When you start drawing it out, it makes a beautiful spiral like this, which can be found in nature, like in this seashell, in hurricanes,
Rock you like a hurricane,
or in a hair wig. Even into pine cones in a how their spines grow in a circular formation.
Oh, Mr. Allen, love this!
Alright, so now we're going to do a final summation of what was said of Leonardo Fibonacci, the dude who invented a bunch of number stuff. So some history. He was born in 1175 AD, which is probably a couple 100,000 Kim Kardashian weddings, like a long time. He was the first mathematician to widely use the Hindu-Arabic system, probably because of his wide traveling with the Moors and merchants and all that kind of stuff. He was born and ended up dying in Pisa, over in Italy, where the pizza is raining and there's a leaning tower that no one can really ever figure out. He was called Leonardo of Pisa, not Leonardo of Vinci, which is like Leonardo da Vinci, so he's Leonardo de Pisa, and something like that. He invented the fraction line, so basically like 2 over 3, or 1 over x, or life over death, you know, or first over second, that kind of stuff. Blah, 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 blah. It's basically what we use every day in math, or anything related to math. Alright, now, the math section. So we're going to do a little recap as well as just a visual aid, and blah, blah, blah. Fibonacci. He invented the Fibonacci sequence. So to find the next number in the Fibonacci sequence, you add the 2 previous numbers. So basically 1 and 1 make 2, and then 2 and 1 make 3. So here we're going to do a drawing of the Fibonacci sequence. So 1 and 1 make 2. So the purpose of each one is to make a square. But this artist, or me, I guess, didn't actually do a good job of drawing squares, so we're just going to go with it. So 3 and 5 make 8. And then you add 5 and 8, and what do you get? 13. Okay, so add 8 and 13 to make a square, and you get 21. And then you add 13 and 21, and you get 34. So the idea is to make a large square, and it looks really cool, but it's more just for just looks and art and that kind of stuff. The cool thing about the Fibonacci sequence, it also exists in the natural world in helicopters, and the downforce of when they fly and something hits the ground, a bunch of air. It's kind of cool. And that's our presentation. Thanks for watching.
I'm a Fibonacci.